How y'all doing? Welcome back to another motorcycle video. In today's episode, we'll be working with this 450 donor motor and removing parts to replace on my original 450. Let's get started. To start, we'll begin by taking off the oil filter cover and gaining access to that, and then we will pull the cover off. There is oil in here, so that's why I have the oil pan underneath to catch that, but then we will remove all the parts off, and then we will go over to the other side, do the same thing on the other side, and once we get to that point, then we can flip the motor upside down, take off the frame, pull the bolts to the bottom case, and gain access to the transmission, where then I can find out what's wrong with the third gear on my original 450. There is a little crease on the edge here that you can get a blade of a screwdriver in there. You see how that felt in? You should be able to pry it out just a little bit. And if I'm right, there are another spot to pop it loose over here, and I think one underneath here as well. But just the gingerest little pry will get it to come out. And you'll want to note that there is a hole here at the top of it that allows oil to circulate. You need a bolt to go in there to push that cap off, to thread in. Once you get that in there, then you can wiggle the cap off. Or you can tighten it up and it will pull it out. There's our oil filter cap. It's got a seal on the inside that keeps everything in there. And you use that bolt just like a flywheel puller just to pull that cap off. Another seal on the inside ring here. And you can see there's all sorts of sludge that gets in there. That's why it's the oil filter. It's a centrifugal oil filter. It cleans all the gunk out of your regular oil. Okay, now we can get to taking off the main side cover. Looks like that one didn't want to come out, so we'll have to drill that out. That one broke loose. This one got teared out. Yep, teared out. That one broke loose. Okay, we'll remove the oil pan so that way we don't get any metal shavings in our oil pan. Now that we have the strip screws removed, we can replace the oil pan and remove all of the unstripped screws. Now we can give this cover a little tap and it'll work its way off. You don't really want to do a whole lot of prying because you could damage the case itself. But in our case, we might end up having to. Oh, it's starting to come off. Okay, now we have our case off. You can set that over there. And we'll get ready to start pulling these bolts here that we weren't able to get unseized. That's stripped out. I don't know why, but anytime you do that, take that up. They usually come out pretty easy after that, so, and they are. I'll get right throw it in the trash. Okay, you can see here we have our clutch basket with our clutch plates. This is our oil filter. And down here we have our oil pump. Now that oil pump and this whole clutch basket has to come out as one because they go in as one. We'll pull the clutch basket cover and the clutch plates off, and we'll get everything loosened up and they'll all come off at the same. To get the oil filter out, you have to have a special socket. It's got 4 heads here, and because there's a nut in there that has 4 voids in there that this fits into, and you can turn it loose. But there's also a washer that goes up against that nut that you have to fold down to be able to get the nut out. This is one of those specialty tools that you'll need and you can get from Common Motors. As you can see here, on these two bolts, there's locking tabs that need to be bent over before they can be released. We are going to be keeping these main components in case something happens to the other ones that I always have parts to replace them with. There's all of our clutch springs and bolts. Now that we have our clutch bolt and springs out of the way, we can start taking this clutch apart. And you'll want to, the clutch plates and the friction plates are staggered in here. So like, that's a friction plate, and then there's a clutch plate behind it that's a steel. And they're staggered in there, but the very back one is a steel, and it's got a bevel to it. So let's see if we can maybe pull all of these off at once, but got all of them off, and we'll save these as well because these actually don't look too bad. They look like they still got good meat, and all of the steels look pretty good too. So we'll go ahead and we'll keep these. Looks like we got a circlip in there that holds the clutch basket in, so we'll see if we can get that out and pull that clutch basket because our oil pump is already loosened. So then that whole assembly will come out together. There we go, we got it to pop out. It's not quite a circlip, you got to spread it apart. But it worked, we got it out of there. Okay, there's our inner clutch basket. Okay, there's our oil pump. And I believe we're having problems getting our clutch basket off. Because of our oil filter here. So what we're going to do is go ahead and clean out the inside of that. So that way we can get that nut off. Look at all that gunk that was in there. Hopefully you can see in there. Okay. See what I mean by there was a nut that goes on there? It was kind of a pain to get on there. It didn't want to go on there right. But there it is. And then there should be a little washer back in there that's got to be folded back down and pulled out of there. Let's see if we can fish it out. There we go. So there's two washers back in there. Set that up there, and now our clutch basket should come off nice and easy. And there we go. Clutch basket is off. There's our starter gear, and then our starter clutch is on the back here. See how that can spin that way, but then it doesn't spin that way? That's because that's our starter clutch on the back. Now, you have to have a special tool. When you pull this nut here, you have to have a special puller for this, and we've got that from Common Motors as well. And there that is. So we'll pull this off and we'll zip this on, and this whole magneto and starter clutch will come off. So that's just a hair too big. About this one here. Just right. Now we gotta find the right socket for this one here. Alright, let's see if we can zip this off there. There we go. Bolt came right off once we got the impact on it. Okay, now we'll feed this in. And this should pull this whole stator right off. Looks like we forgot to take off this bolt here. This holds that on, and it keeps that starter clutch on there as well. Now the whole thing's off. And we got our starter clutch pieces in here. They came off because I left that piece on, but alrighty. Let's see what we can do about getting that off now. There we go. Got that piece off. We got our chain off. She's coming out slowly but sure. And there we go. We got our front sprocket off. Before we move on, we don't want to forget to remove our woodruff key. It doesn't take a lot of force. Just some taps to coerce it out of the little channel that it's sitting in. There we go. And we're going to save this as well. You know, we want to save as many parts as we can. To get these broke loose, we have this bolt here. We have 1, 2, 3 bolts here, and this bolt here has to be tapped all the way through. Nut and washer. Take that back. We have 4 bolts here. 2 in the front, 2 in the back. Okay, now we'll go ahead and start tapping these bolts through. When you do start to tap the bolt through, you want to make sure to have a nut on there to brace when you're tapping to get it good. Solid surface so you don't mess up threads. Ooh. Yeah, that one came right out. Okay, one of the front braces is off. Another bolt. Yeah, the other front brace is off. All those are off. So we only have that to tap out now. And our boat should be through. So we're going to do all this. this out of the way. Okay. We'll get the socket extension that and rest of the way through. See, you can find another one. Go through. We found another one, so we'll continue. And there's a rod. There we go, got it out. And there's our other. Now what we'll do is we'll take this motor, lift it up out of the frame, and flip it upside down and put it on the table here. See, we still got some attached. Don't wait to drop it off. There's our ground wire that's on up. Okay, there's our ground wire. There's our frame. And the old chain. Now we can start tearing apart this bottom end here. Get that now. Four bolts here. Got two more of those smaller ones down here. And one, some smaller ones. And then we've got four bigger ones up here. Okay. I'm pretty sure that we should be able to pop all of this whole lower case off. Before we do that, let's go ahead and see if we can't pull this shifting shaft here. There we go. We'll keep a hold of that too. Now let's see if we can pop this bottom part of the case off. Alright, so we had two bolts up underneath here that come down from the top that I didn't see, so I got those. I saw the one in here, but I didn't see the one in here. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 bolts that we ended up having to get. And I thought there was only 10. But now we have the bottom case off. There's the transmission and the crank. Alrighty y'all, that's it for this video. We got everything torn off here that we needed to. We got the side covers, we got the oil filter, the oil pump, the clutch, we got the magneto and the stator off, we got the sprocket off, and we got the bottom case off. This motor will stay like this until I get the motor from this bike taken out and torn down to the same exact instance, so that way I know I can find out what's going on down in my third gear. It looks like, you know, it looks like it's going to be easy enough to get to, but we'll find out when we get this motor tore out and up on the bench and torn apart. If you like this video, hit the like and subscribe button. I sure appreciate it, and it helps out the channel. Y'all have a good day.